Coach, first off, congratulations on the late.
Thank you.
There's obviously been a frustration with the lack of foul calls. I'm not trying to get you a fine or anything like that, but obviously you got a little bit heated as the referee. I know Nafisa got hurt, she was even bleeding after they were kind of refusing to call foul until later on. Do you feel like Fee is called evenly compared to some of the other superstars in the league, or do you feel like she gets sometimes a hard whistle or anything like that?
I mean, I think it probably is. It's what lens you're looking through. So you're correct. You're not going to get me to say a whole lot. I think everybody knows how I feel, especially as it pertains to Fee. But I thought the important thing was that we found a way to win the game on a tough scheduling stretch that all teams go through. And how you handle these stretches tells you a lot about your team. Having played yesterday, a tough game, we were disappointed that we didn't have enough in the last 5 minutes. We got out toughed. And so just turning around today and seeing our response and really our bench, I'm really, really happy that our bench gave the support that they did, because our starters absolutely needed it to kind of help get us going again.
Coach, you just mentioned playing this type of stretch kind of tells you what kind of team you have. What kind of team do you see, like in the locker room, on the court, and how, I guess I wouldn't say proud, but how happy are you seeing the way that they bounce back after that phase?
Yeah, I mean, it's as a coach, it's what you hope for. Coaches talk, about, a lot of the coaches say the same thing, so it's not necessarily, everybody's really unique. I think it's when you have a buy-in, a level of buy-in. And the one thing this group doesn't do is make excuses. We know that, again, we fell short in a game that 5 minutes to go. That's what you hope to do on the road, is be in position to win, and we were, but we didn't win. And largely because we got out toughed in the last 5 minutes. And so I wanted to see our response in today's game. We have some players that are, really good players that are struggling to find a bottom. It's shots aren't falling, as much as they're accustomed to, and finding ways to win when your best players are not playing their best is something that we should be really happy about, and that's what I felt today. Obviously, happy to be the coach of this team for sure, and I love the way that they respond. I love the way that they connect with each other through thick and thin, and it's real. And so obviously it makes me proud.
Hey, Coach, just knowing that this was going to be the WNBA's first 44-game season, I was curious if the coaching staff did anything for the season, or even during the season, to kind of compare to that.
We really didn't. I think we all have an expanded staff. We all have the resources now that we didn't have. We wouldn't have been equipped to handle with the staffs of old, the really pared down minimums. And so something that's probably not talked about very much is the ways that we are able to support our players now from a sports performance standpoint, medical standpoint. So I think in that way, I don't know that coaches necessarily, we know through stretches of the season, maybe we have to manage some things, or road trips, and maybe how certain players are feeling. But I'd say by and large, 5 years ago, we weren't doing what we're doing now. Look at the players in their preparation before the game. Look at the players, what they do when they arrive to a city. Look at the players when they, after a game, you see them going through workouts. And we just didn't do that 5 years ago, so we didn't have the resources to do it. So I would say that's the thing that's different, and it makes them, able to handle more games, obviously, along with the travel situation being much improved. Sure.
Obviously, you guys are a franchise that really invested in that. There are a number of other WNBA franchises that do. Do you think that it should be a stipulation that now that the season is extended, and maybe down the line can be even longer, that there be a league-wide standard mandated?
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that when you own a franchise, I mean, you make choices of where you invest your dollars. And so I don't think that mandating how you use your staff, sometimes you have teams that are ahead of the curve. You have other teams that are behind the curve, and that will always be. So I don't necessarily believe in the mandating part. The ones that, it's an arms race. That's a part of the arms race, knowing what you're providing your players. And so if you're not bringing it, players talk, and that won't last very long. Say it again,
Maybe it behooves you guys if it was don't.
maybe.
Coach, you spoke about toughness. I think a lot of people when they hear toughness, they think physicality, but mentally, where does see your team, I guess, grow even throughout the season compared to maybe even just last season? Have you seen tangible growth even with mentality, perhaps?
Yeah, no, I think that's when I say toughness, it's certainly physical, but I mean mental toughness. I mean, when the game gets hard and what's your response to hard. Um, we're not perfect by any stretch, but we're a team that typically, you make a run, how we handle that. That's something that we talked about when we got together in 2024. We are selective about the type of people, the type of teammates, et cetera. And so when you hit hard times, we say it at the first day of the season, we say, look, at the time there were 12 teams, and we said, all 12 teams are saying the same thing. They all want to win a championship. And the first day, everybody's excited. Everybody likes each other. And then you get a month into it, and you start playing games. Playing time becomes a thing. Wins and losses becomes a thing. Who are you then? Who are you when your team is down 10? How do you treat each other? That's all a part of this mental toughness. I have players on our bench that are not happy with their playing time. Not a single one of them affects the team. I'm aware. That's since the beginning of time. But how you handle it matters, and it determines whether your team is successful or not. Because any little things throughout the course of the season, you're already tired, you're already drained, and you're trying to muster it up. And to have little things nagging and pulling at you, that's when teams fall apart and they can't respond in tough times.
Coach, one more for me, just a little bit off the court. I did want to ask you, it's your second captain in the row, a lot of kids in tennis, a lot of energy in here. So sure, the LA community here, we're very diverse, and we've been hit pretty hard by a lot of the ice quotations, a lot of the activity out here. So to be able to have the kids here and, see them happy and excited, what does that mean to you? I mean, you've always been a leader in things in human rights, so we'd love to hear true.
Yeah, no, it's a special day, and even more special in the LA community for the reasons that you stated. Um, Sport can be a vehicle of change, and sometimes a release from the real world. And that's what we're seeing in this community right now. And so certainly, building the next generation's mindset towards professional women's athletes. And when you grow up with the norm of going, to women's sporting events, when you become a leader, girls or boys, when you become the next leaders, how you're looking at it, and you're normal. Your normal is that they exist at a high level and they're supported and they're invested in. And so then when you take your spaces of leadership, that's what's expected. You don't know anything different. So there's many, many ways that having the thousands of kids that were so excited to be here, screaming oftentimes, we didn't know what they were screaming at. That's usually the case. But if we were in some way a release or in some way an inspiration to them, it was a successful day.
Go to Terry on Zoom.
Hey, Coach. Congrats on the win. Just wanted to ask you a little bit about Bridget Carlton's game today. We talk, sort of all the time about all the ways in which she can affect winning on the court. Season high 6 assists for her. Have you seen just like her playmaking ability grow, and just her facilitating kind of help get the offense sort of on the straight and narrow after the rocky start there?
Yeah, I would say that today's game, was recognition of how LA was playing, our actions, and BC is a smart player. And so she was finding, versus the switches and the kicking out and all the good things that LA was throwing at us. BC is somebody who's like the calm through the storm, if you will, and big plays, and then the dagger, kind of the nail, with her last shot. I would like to see her take more than 3 shots, but I'm happy that she was able to make with the 6 assists.
Shelby on Zoom.
Hi, Coach. Congrats on the win. I wanted to ask specifically about Heidemann came in, had 10 points in the first quarter, and just 4 minutes there really kind of sparked you guys. We talked some, I think it was June 20th, about just how comfortable she was feeling. I was talking to T and said that she feels like she has the green light to make the right play. She's established a lot of trust. Wanted to get your perspective on that and just how you guys have established trust with T to come off the bench and kind of have that impact.
And coming off of a year, with her adjusting adjusting to a new team. You know, she played for, Connecticut for so long, and that group, coaches, players, and then kind of coming here last year and getting used to, new teammates, but also me and how critical I am of guard play and sort of navigating that space. And so, we had a good conversation in the offseason about I needed to be, a little more forgiving at times and, give her a chance to get back maybe what didn't go our way. I've learned a lot about T and trying to put her in better and better positions to help us. T had been struggling, for a couple weeks. And so, we have a few players that aren't playing as best, or as well as they want to play or at their best. T's timing of this game is what our starters needed. And, if T wasn't in our locker room today and available to play, this game might have turned out differently. And so she willed our team to kind of shake off that, that early start and really gave us a bounce in our step. And she played very confidently.
Last question will be Andrew on Zoom.
Thanks. Coach, is how you handled a dangerous team like the Sparks completely different from what they were when you faced them previously this season with Van Loo, getting back Burrell, having Alleman back in the fold there. You talk about how Diamond, Miller, and Maria were able to play and contribute along with both Jess and T off the bench and what they gave you today to step up the way that they did.
Yeah, and we've said that a fair amount this season where we're playing teams multiple times and how different they are from the first time we played, especially new coached situations in that a shifting roster early on with injuries. That's always hard on a coach, especially in your first year where you're trying to figure out what you have. You had a plan, and then all of a sudden it's changing. And just the emphasis on 3-point shooting in the beginning, and then over the last 5 games, 40 points in the paint. So a completely different mindset shift. Van Loo gives them a different vibe. Certainly, you mentioned Burrell's health gives them a little more depth, and there's still lots of time left in the season for all of these teams, and ones that have maybe gone through some difficult times in terms of having a complete roster. I think there's a lot of talent here in LA. With regard to Diamond and Masha. Masha's a very confident player. Maria, very, very confident player, very good basketball player. And when she gets minutes on the court, she's very efficient and, is easy to play with. I think that's a good tell about a player. Diamond, is a player that has gotten in the rotation now. She's getting more and more confident now that she's back in the rotation. And, that bodes well for our team. I like what's happening on our bench. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen every night, but we're confident to put those players in the game.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.